Innovating Education Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.
Being gifted has long been equated to being intelligent and having a high IQ. But many scholars believe that students can also be gifted in the sense of having increased emotional or social intelligence. To find out more about educating these children, we go to Portugal and Russia and we hear an expert's view. Being gifted can be a double-edged sword. Smart students can get bored and frustrated if their classmates and teachers fail to engage with their special abilities. One Portuguese project is helping teachers avoid this pitfall.
João Paulo is 17 and has been expelled from school twice for failing to get on with his teachers. But he's now been identified as highly gifted.
Some friends already know, others suspect, but they don't really talk about it. I tell them to keep quiet in front of the teachers, but during the breaks I always say, "Here's the gifted one here. You know nothing."
According to João Paulo, he gets angry when he realizes that teachers can't keep up with him.
I test my teachers' patience. I refuse to do what they say. I talk all the time just to check what their limits are.
It makes me sad when I go to the school to parents' evenings. I'm disappointed with his grades, but at the same time I'm happy because the teachers say he's an excellent student, a bright kid, the best in his class.
Marcela Pinho is trying to help. She realized that João Paulo was specially gifted when he hacked into the school's computer system.
He has above-average abilities and gets frustrated at school, sees it with dissatisfaction, contempt and disdain. So we have to tackle that negative idea and try to improve his image of school and teachers, thinking about how this can work out for the future.
Marcela is an expert on gifted children and thinks that early identification is key to avoiding problems. Every Saturday, she helps coordinate activities for gifted children from 7 to 10 years old.
My teacher says I'm the brightest in the class. Last year she was giving me work that was for kids from the year above, and this year she's still giving me harder work than the others.
Because they're more thirsty for knowledge and work faster, unless we work with them to develop tolerance and understanding that other children have different learning rhythms, they risk turning into problem students and getting expelled from school.
E, portanto, são muitas vezes os alunos que têm que sair das salas são expulsos da sala.
To find out more about the different ways in which people can be gifted and how to help them best develop their talents, we're joined now by Mark Brackett, a psychology professor at Yale University in the US. Thank you for joining us, Professor. So, what is a gifted student?
When people ask that question, it's not an easy answer because it depends what type of giftedness you're thinking about. Is it sort of giftedness in one's emotional life, in one's social life, or academic life? So we try to really separate giftedness in terms of social, emotional, and academics. So you can imagine someone who is highly intelligent using cognitive intelligence as a framework, but doesn't really know how to get along with people, doesn't really know how to manage his or her relationships well. But the reverse could happen. You could have someone who is extremely emotionally intelligent, who really knows how to get along with people, but may not be the best student. And for that reason, we argue that we want to simultaneously nurture both one's cognitive system and emotion system.
And is IQ the only way of measuring intelligence, or is that an outdated concept?
We don't believe IQ is the only variable to take into account. While there are many people who have great complex problem-solving ability, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're gifted or creative. So limiting giftedness to just how one performs on an IQ test is very limited from our perspective.
Do you support separating gifted students from their peers?
Isolating children who are gifted in one domain but not in another domain may cause more problems. And what I think is important is for schools to find a way to nurture all the skills so that perhaps if someone is gifted in one area, they get an opportunity to do projects and to work in classrooms where they can nurture that skill or ability, but also be involved in having a well-rounded education so that they're participating in sports and arts and in other classroom areas where they may not be as gifted as in the one area.
And finally, have you got any advice for parents of gifted students?
My advice for parents is always to nurture their children and to look for their strengths and help them develop their strengths, but also be mindful of, again, child development and trying to make sure that their child has, a full, well-rounded education. And from my work on emotional intelligence, what I think is most critical is that parents support their children and never make them feel like they're different or that they are less or more, because we don't want to develop children who are either insecure or too narcissistic about their skill set.
Thank you, Professor Brackett.
You're welcome.
Well, we've heard one viewpoint on educating gifted children. And now we go to Russia for another take on the issue. We visit a school which is using special teaching techniques and aims to nurture specific talents and create inventors. Let's have a look.
Here in Moscow, at school number 1199 for gifted children, the day begins with cleaning. The idea is to instill discipline and a strong work ethic into these gifted pupils.
This school was started as a place for pioneers or trailblazers, a place to train children for a future of exploration, in whatever specialist field they choose later on.
The selection process for this school is rigorous and includes a creativity competition, a written exam in problem solving, and finally, a collective mind game. Only 1 in 5 or 6 applicants is accepted, and the school never has more than 70 pupils at any one time.
The unique thing about this school is freedom. The atmosphere here is more than informal. There's freedom for the teacher too. I don't have to follow a traditional school program. I can teach lessons as I think best.
Teaching concentrates on the use of primary sources of information, in humanities as well as in sciences.
The school as a whole is a creative organism. The curriculum links all the subjects. So, for example, I work with the world art professor, but deal with the issues she raises in my own language. Our task is to develop creative thinkers.
This kind of education doesn't just develop creative minds. It opens all kinds of high-level doors.
When I was younger, I was always asking why. Since I've been at this school, I know that if my parents can't tell me the answer, I can find it out in school. It's really great when you're continually discovering new things.
Are you for or against educating gifted students in special schools? Let us know what you think on our social media pages. I hope you've enjoyed this week's program. Goodbye for now.
Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.